We've talked about how nice it is to have a stretch at home here, and even beyond playing the games at home, having practice days like this at home, is that something that can get overlooked over the course of a season, especially once you get into the grind of everything?
Yeah, you know what I like? One of the things I actually like about the schedule is that you go blocks at home and blocks on the road. And maybe normally you wouldn't like that, but these guys respond well to it. I think it's one of the benefits of being in Florida, the climate, right? You can be outside your house and you can recover. You can get to physically feeling stronger by more time outside, feeling active. So we should use it, and we do. We like being at home for the week, and then when you putting more games on the road together makes sense to us because we fly so far to every game. Might as well get 5 or 6 in.
We talked a little bit about some of these new lines, but that Ed to Benny White line, a goal last game, a nice connection there with.
And on fire in practice today, right?
So I mean, just early results from that line. What are you seeing out of them?
Well, potential, which is the coach's most hated word, but there is there because I'm not sure what their strength will end up being, and I think that's a positive because they could potentially play against the other team's best. They could be that other line when you get on the road and they're matching Barkov with the checking line. And a big, strong guy in Bennett. But you know what the interesting thing about Sam is he hasn't played for years in games in the league. He doesn't have as much center ice experience as you would think, right? He's been on the wing a fair amount, or he's played on third and fourth line holes where you don't get the same experience because you're not playing against Draisaitl, you're not playing against McDavid. So he's almost new to it. Luostarinen, though, is new to the wing, and Colin then has a different style of player that he's played with before. I think they can do both. I think they can put up points. I do think they can generate offense in a straight line, kind of that attack slot hole. Benny attacks with some speed, pushes them back, and they find that hole. But I also think that we want to build them into being able to play against the other team's best.
I think it was Nick Cousins last week told us any line that Ed 2's on is typically the best line that night. Just what do you notice from him right? as a line enhancer?
He is on the puck. So there's a percentage of forechecks that you would expect not to be able to hold the line or gain possession that he gets by his stick alone. The play's dead. They've got full possession. You're kind of running defensive routes, and he'll get his stick on something. And it doesn't, you know what, those analytic numbers are interesting. Like, it doesn't need to be a big number to really skew a line. If you get 1 or 2 more holds in the offensive zone a game, you get to be almost elite status, right? He gets his stick on the puck, that's what I was trying to say when I started to ramble. He gets on the puck, and he gets a stick on the puck, and they get to play in the offensive zone more because of it. Everybody likes that.
How have you thought that Ryan Lomberg has reacted to these new minutes, this new responsibility, the getting off the fourth line?
Yeah, I think really well. Right? Perception's a funny thing, right? We define players by what we think we see, and then we almost limit them by that. Oh, he's a skilled guy. Well, then he's only a skilled guy. He's a grinder. Well, he can only grind. If you took the name off the back and maybe some of the energy I love, this game is pretty solid. Like, it's the Radko Gudas effect. It's almost the same thing. When people ask people around, oh yeah, he blows people up, he chases. He doesn't actually. He's systematically really strong. Yeah, he blows every once in a while. He's gonna get you. And I feel the same way about Ryan. So I don't think this was a huge elevation. I think his game dictated that he could play that style. He's fast. He gets on the puck. He's been really solid in his own end. He's got a good set of hands. I mean, any guy that can pick one out of the air from over his shoulder, keep it from high sticking and knock it down, that's pretty good. So he can have that job for as long as he wants it. I mean, that line eventually has to produce or defend. You got to do one of the two really well. But that's his. If he wants it, it's his.
I mean, speaking of Radko Gudas, I mean, you've seen him all over the place. So, I mean, even he's jumping up in the zone there on offense. What have you seen from him?
He's been I don't know that surprise is that if I said the word surprise, it'd almost be disrespectful because he's been a good player his whole career. But I didn't know enough about him to appreciate him. He's the player that there's 2 or 3 that I would say I didn't have a good understanding of the quality of his game. Is very, very high. His decisions, his timing offensively, right? So that may be something you haven't seen. He's gotten into holes at the right time, gotten his shot off. He's got a big heater when he can get it to the net. again, goes back to not putting ceilings on players. I mean, if he can shoot the puck and he can get it to the net, then they'll put some numbers up for him. He's got a good young partner that's more offensive-minded, so Radko will always kind of hang back a little bit. But he can make plays.
I mean, he took on a pretty big leadership role there and getting Mahura all settled, and that it's turned into one of the better pairings in the league statistically.
Yeah, you're right, and they weren't playing in the 5-6 at the time that those numbers happened, right? With our injuries, they were playing up the lineup and getting bigger minutes and playing against stiffer competition. So it's an impressive thing that they've done. We like the chemistry there. Mahura is still unknown to us in a lot of ways. Again, you don't want to put ceilings on players, but we're not sure where he gets to. It's just been really positive since he showed up. He's been very, very consistent. He hasn't had, for me, a night that I thought, man, did he have a tough night, which you normally get with young defensemen. It happens to all of them. Geez, was he awful tonight? That hasn't happened yet. Some of that is Radko and his play being able to cover off some things that young players do, but he's also feeling pretty safe out there and feeling like an NHL player because Radko provides that security.
Coach, there's just been crazy competition, not just in the division, but really in the East to start the year. Just even talking to Sam Bennett, he says he expects it to be a dogfight all season long. What has stood out to you about that, and have you noticed that early on? And does that kind of play into that wanting to play a playoff style mentality?
You know what? So there's almost two questions in there, but the first one will be, you're 100% right. It's the exact opposite of last year. By Christmas time last year, the league was defined. The conference was defined. Everybody knew who was making the playoffs and who wasn't. And then a lot of those teams that didn't had spent 2 or 3 or 4 years of rebuilding and drafting high, and the kids start to get better, and they start to get better, and then they'll catch fire. And that's so at the start now, you get Buffalo that takes off. Even Ottawa had its 4 or 5 coming in before they played us. And they're very dangerous on any given night. And then you'll see one take off, like New Jersey, who's probably staying in that top 8, right? So there's going to be a change there. The idea of us needing to play a very tenacious playoff game, so this is the second part to that, is related to this team specifically for style of game and what it went through and what it needs to do going forward. So it's true of every team. You got to grind. You got to learn how to get to that playoff grind. Specifically true of this team. And we're going to learn all those lessons right now. The start of this year, in my mind, has been great for us. The 5-on-5 analytics are fantastic, right? Even our special team analytics, what we should be getting for what we're getting, but we're not. That's okay. Then you got to learn how to grind a game out, learn how to win. So the things that we need to learn how to do are being presented to us right now, and I'm really happy with the way they're handling it. I like the way we're playing right now. Always be things to complain about and fix, but overall, we are ahead of where I thought we would be, kind of closing in on the 20-game market, which is what I consider the start of a season, 20 games, and we keep building on it. I like our game.
Yeah, to finish up on that, it's been a month now, so you're all right with how this first month has gone.
Oh, really happy with it. Okay. That's maybe a better phrase, because I was really angry after the Edmonton game, just because you lose. So you're not happy with necessarily the record, but the style of game and where we're at with it. Yes, I am.
So and it's a results-based business, not like ourselves, but the results have been good enough to where you're like, hey, we're learning this, and that.
Yeah, I'm not really worried about the results. We got a set of things that we got to learn and we got to become. When that happens, for the Panthers franchise, doesn't matter. It just has to happen, and we have to set kind of it's not even so much culture. Style of play is going to take a year to get to 2 years to get. It's a hard game to play. Every playoff game, they'll learn it more. They'll get stronger and stronger at it. So we got to scratch and claw. I mean, I'm very comfortable.
I mean, this is a group that's undergone a lot of change recently with, you're the third coach now in the last 3 years. I mean, what have you seen from does it make it a little bit easier for a group to kind of learn something after going through all that?
I don't know. I wasn't here. I know that they're wired into it. I've got the advantage that we have in our room is that we've got the microcosm. We've got 3 Stanley Cups on our 4th line, right? They know. So I'm not selling something that the guys who've been there, they get it, right? And they're living it and they're preaching it. And so the veteran guys understand that's the direction they have to go. the guys who went through what they went through last year understand that, and they'll articulate that to you. Yeah, we knew we got to change the way we play if we want to get to the next level. So they've been great. It's been hard. Camp was hard. Not having the success, the easy success. Some guys feeling it because their numbers aren't what they were last year, maybe at this time, or certainly the way the season ended. No, but they've been good, real good. They've handled it.
Thanks, guys.